So shall we together now put our hands together to Ochiame Kwame, the rap doctor. Welcome, sir. Next to Ochiame is one of the greatest Ghanaian filmmakers and producers that we know. Those of you who follow the Things We Do for Love would have known that Ivan Kwashiga was the producer-director of Things We Do for Love. He described himself as the chief ideas farmer at Farmhouse Productions Limited, which he established in 2006. Ivan is a multi-talented filmmaker with over 26 years of work of experience, 13 of which was spent in advertising and marketing in the creative and production departments of Mullen Low Lintas Ghana. Ivan has also produced and directed the award-winning TV serial drama, as I mentioned, Things We Do for Love. Before then, there was Speakeasy and a few other productions that he has worked on over the years. He's also the producer of MTN Apps Challenge and an app development challenge by MTN, as well as the Heroes Challenge, among several other things that Ivan has been involved with and still involved with. And we're very grateful that he will join us on the panel today. Shall we put our hands together for Mr. Ivan Kwashiga? One of Ghana's leading bloggers. In fact, before a lot of people will know what blogging is, Amia was blogging. Amia Odebra, who is the founder of Amia Odebra Media, started his blogging in 2008. Impressively, he launched his blog, amiadebra.com, and has over the years excelled in the online media space, done a lot, winning many awards along the way, traveled across the world to blog about places and food and people and everything. And in addition to his business, Amia has also worked on so many other online platforms, such as the Ghana Web, Pulse Ghana, Yen.com, Scooper News, and many others. Amia is an astute online and media mogul that we have in this country, and we are very privileged that he's joined us today on the Showbiz Forum. Welcome, Mr. Amia Odebra. Shall we clap? I'll save the lady for the last. The next person I want to introduce is artist manager, one of our leading artist managers, very astute in that area, I must say. George Mensah Britton is an award-winning media personality, a talent manager, entertainment pundit, entertainment mogul, a brand and creative serial entrepreneur, among many other things. Judge Britton spearheaded and founded the startup of GB Interactive after his successful leadership as brand manager for both GhanaMusic.com and MIP Promo, as well as Access Plus. George is a creative leader in many spaces and has successfully launched his own brand, GB Interactive Limited, a multidisciplinary media and marketing solutions company. He is currently the manager of one of the biggest growing artists in the country, nominated for Artist of the Year. He'll mention him when he gets to his turn. But let us put our hands together as we welcome Mr. George Britton. And so I saved the lady for the last. She's the only lady on the podium and on the stage, and would like to say that Mabel Simpson has been doing a lot in the sector of fashion and fashion accessories and all that over the years. She's the CEO of M-Seams Limited and has grown from producing just brooches to a mid-scale fashion house that provides full suit services such as handmade handbags, laptop handbags, diaper bags, men's slippers, travel pillows, I'm sure throw pillows as well, clothing, and most recently, reusable face masks when the global pandemic COVID-19 reared its ugly head. She has earned a number of awards and recognitions, among which include Accessory Brand of the Year at the Gleeks Africa Fashion Week in 2013 and Accessory Brand of the Year at Fashion Icon Awards in 2015, among several other things. Mabel has been doing a lot in the online space, pushing her brand, selling her things, getting people to appreciate what she does as a fashion entrepreneur. And we're very grateful that she would join us today on the Creative Forum by Graphic Showbiz. Shall we put our hands together as we welcome Miss Mabel Simpson, CEO of MSINS. So, having now introduced our guests, we'll go on to introduce a few people who have joined us at this program. There are some people that, with the greatest respect, we'd like to introduce before we go into the discussion. We have among us actor Mr. Bill Asamoah, and we're grateful, Mr. Asamoah, for joining us. We also have a gospel artist, Mr. Bernard Amankwa. Thank you for coming. We have in our midst, I didn't see him, rapper. And today he was featured on one album that came out by Omar Sterling, Manifests. Welcome. And we also have in our midst Mr. Paul Azuma, representative of Boomplay. Boomplay, as you know, is one of the growing music streaming platforms. And we're grateful that they are here with us today as we discuss these subjects. We also have in our midst gospel artist who prayed earlier, Mr. Kofi Owusu-Pepra. Welcome, sir. We have also music video director, Mr. Ezekiel Tete, who everybody knows as Tip. Welcome. We also have in our midst Mr. Kwame Obi Nate of Vision 1 FM. And finally, before we come to introduce again another time, we have in our midst Mr. Kwesi Oting, who is a gospel musician as well. Welcome, Mr. Oting. And we'll come back, I'm sure, for the next round of introductions. We have also Nanaya Oredu, and he's not here yet. He will come, I suppose. But we'll go on to have our discussion. Today we want to talk about maximizing the benefits of digitization in the COVID-19 era. And we have, as I've introduced, some of the people who have been doing the most in that space, in the digital space. And they will share a bit of their experience over the past year with us. And then also we discuss some of the things that will come up, and then we look at how to go on from here. So we'll start by giving each of our panel members a maximum of 5 minutes to tell us their story, what they've done, how they've maximized their business, the things they do using the digital space since COVID came upon us, and then we would all have a discussion around that. So let's start with Mr. Sadiq Abdullahi Abu to tell us a bit about what he has been able to do over the last 1 year plus.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Doku. My name is Sadiq Abdullahi Abu. I work for 3 Music. In the last 1 year, since COVID hit us, I think that one of the first few things that we did was the decision to go virtual for our events, the last 2 events that we had. Starting with last year when we did the virtual event, and then this year as well when we did the virtual event. The thing about digital, obviously, is that it's a long shot. In terms of investment, internally and up until now, we are still figuring out the best way possible around virtual events. The ways that it will be profitable for the business and would make money back in terms of the investment that goes into it. We haven't quite made that yet, but what that has been able to do for us is unlock the certain value for us that we are confident that in the long term will prove to be profitable. Beyond that as well, this year, one of the things that we discovered or we tried to do was to see how we can begin to use some of these digital channels like YouTube or Facebook and see how we can, over a long term, make some money back. Ultimately, at the end of the event, there was a certain thing that we did that would also eventually prove to be commercially viable. I don't know if anybody noticed that the songs or productions that was performed at the Three Music this year was totally different from the original songs. We had to re-record all these songs, um, just as a, not only as a way of differentiating it and giving it a different experience, but we also knew that there's always a time where these songs, together with the talent and I mean, for with approvals from their teams and everything, could be put up. I know that there's a preliminary conversation that has been had, for instance, with Boomplay. We haven't quite fully, gone ahead with that because you will need to have all the full conversations at the back end with the talent. But eventually, that's some of the things that we're also looking to do to enable us recoup. And so, to sum up, within the last 1 year when Corona hit us, we've had to do what the situation created for us, which is go virtual, create a virtual event for Three Music Awards last year, and then the Three Music Awards this year. This year proved to be hugely successful. At a point in time on the show, we had nearly about 250,000 people watching us. It was unbelievable. Because in between when the show was running, and we looked at it, I was like, this is 250K people watching us. And one of my guys is here, Ricky, and I said, this is 250K. He says, no. Are you sure? No, you mean 25K? I said, no, take a look at it. This is 250K. And we've been scanning around, and also obviously because we know that, particularly for Facebook Live, we've never quite had that metric for a lot of the events that has happened. It was a big deal for us. It was really, really a big deal for us. It gave us a sense of the impact or the extent to which our reach was this year. Going forward, a lot of these numbers, and even in terms of the impressions, last year whereas we had about 4 million impressions, this year we had 20 million impressions generally, but Twitter on the night, and it was really, really a big deal. And so, going into the numbers and figuring out a way on how, it's what we are doing now ahead of our 5th year next year. But essentially, as much as it hasn't immediately given us money back, we're confident that the value and the numbers and the things that's unlocking for us are things that commercial partners would want going forward into next year, or the products that we've created of it in terms of what is actually on social media, on YouTube, and what we will eventually may do with Boomplay or some of these digital platforms with the new songs that was re-recorded for the performances, are something that would ultimately prove to be commercially viable to us. So to sum up, this is what we did in the last 1 year.
Oh, well, shall we put our hands together for Sadiq? But Sadiq, just one question before we move on to Ochami is, what has been the biggest challenge? Going into organizing this event virtually or semi-virtually, as this year's proved to be. What has been the biggest challenge for somebody like you and the kind of things you do over the past year?
Thanks. It's been funding. Funding has been the biggest one. For you to look at really investing that much money that we put into Three Music Awards for last year and this year, knowing fully well that we will not make the money back. It's it required a certain level of thinking to be able to do, And so much as we had wanted to push over some of these funding to commercial partners in the market, it proved to be difficult. Also owing to the fact that the Corona pandemic saw budgets being cut. I don't know if anybody's aware now. There's a particular regulatory situation going on now, which is making it difficult for particularly the FMCGs to associate with events. I don't know when we would have that major conversation, but it's a major conversation. It's taking a whole lot more from industry. And so much as, they probably may want to, that was a factor. The budgetary cut as well was a factor. And so we couldn't have that commercial partnership to enable us do it. But notwithstanding, we still had to do it because, we're thinking long term. We're thinking on creating a very good goodwill for the brand going forward. Also knowing that there are other things that we're looking to launch on the back of the brand that we've built. So it was a gamble without all the funds, but it remains to be seen if all these things will really pay off. But we're confident that we'll work towards ensuring that what this has been able to unlock for us will pay back.
Thank you so much. So that's Mr. Sadiq Abdulabu, who is an event organizer and media person, and he just shared his experience as far as events during this period is concerned. So we'll move on to music. and how music artists have done over the last 1 year, represented by Ochame Kwame, the rap doctor. He'll tell us his experience over the past year and what he's done and what he hopes to do going on from here. Mr. Ochame Kwame, you have the floor.
Thank you, my brother. So over the past 1 year, I've done a few things. When the pandemic hit, the first thing that I did with my developing partners, Vocacom, was that we launched Lalafio. Lalafio is a streaming platform that what we did during the time when people were really scared was that we tried to bring entertainment to their phones and their laptops. So wherever you are, you can watch a kiddie, a Kwame Eugene, and we did I think for over about 3 months period, every Wednesday we brought people pop music. On Fridays, we gave them high life music, and on Sundays, we gave them gospel music. So out of every week, we had 3 artists performing with the Patch Bay Band, and it went on for a while. And I think that myself and Vocacom, we had been speaking of Lalafio, or we had developed Lalafio about 6 years. And every time we said we're looking for the opportune time to launch it, we have to finish the app, we have to do this, we have to upgrade it to this level before. But during the COVID period, we launched it and created excitement and entertainment. What we charged 5 cedis. It's a subscription-based platform. So we charged 5 cedis for 1 week, and we did it in partnership with MTN. So if you paid your 5 cedis using your Momo, Visa, or any other payment platform, you could watch 3 shows. And then with the artists, after people watch the show, we divide the money between the artists for that week, and then we leave the content on the website for people to continuously, interact with. And then based on how much time they spend with it, we also found a way to take some monies from them that we shared with the artists. So that is Lalafio, for me, is one of the things that we did during the pandemic period. Another one that we are working on currently is Trender Square. We believe that, no, we don't believe, we know that unless or until Africa decides to grab the bull by the horn and wrestle it, all the monies that we are making in the digital space will go to America, Russia, and Indonesia. So what we are doing currently is that we are starting our own social media platform called the Trender Square, which will begin in Ghana in the next 2 months. We are in the testing process now. In the next 2 months, we will launch it. And then it's a platform for Africans. So it's going to be like a Pan-African social media platform where we will have an office in Ghana and in other African countries where when people advertise, for example, if they advertise on Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook, all the monies go to America. And then later, the Ministry of Communication will come and tax us for using Facebook, when the responsibility is actually to get them to come and open offices here like Google and Twitter so that we can tax them here. So I know that before we can get to a point where we will begin to take full financial advantage of the digitization process, we must own our own platforms. We must own our own Spotify, own our own Apple Music. We need to own it so that we can galvanize the money here, curate our own content here, and pay taxes here so that the government will have data to be able to improve on our lives. So that's another thing that we did during the COVID period. We also set up Soko Center. Soko Center is a shopping platform that when you go to sokocenter.com, we can buy your things for you, buy kuntumire, jene, and everything, and bring it to your home. And we also store and sell made in Ghana products. So I think in the digital space, in connection with trying to make direct money, these are the 3 things that I have been involved in. But apart from that, and the regular social media platform that we are used to, like Instagram, I have had more streams on Instagram during these COVID periods than any other time because people are home and they are looking for excitement. They are looking for entertainment, you know. And I was talking about YouTube. And on Instagram, I have also been able to use it I think I had about 800,000 followers before the COVID. And now we increase the numbers by over 1 million because we realize that people are home, they are spending more time on their phones. So this is the right time to create more information. Apart from the data and the numbers that we are increasing, we've also given these platforms to World Reader, to World Vision, to so many NGOs that are interested in pushing the communication forward, the information forward. Wear your mask, wash your hands. We've given our platform to these developmental agencies to use to increase the information about COVID protocols. We've also done a lot of work with UNICEF. We've done webinars. We've done webinars for climate change. We have made a conscious effort to use our platforms as a conduit to getting information to people. Apart from that, I will be honest that we have also used it to position our brands. Because when we are talking about branding, it is obvious. Whatever you do on social media platforms, unlike traditional media, you see the figures. If it's you go into the insight, 70,000 people saw it, 15,000 people saw it, 7,000 people. It is obvious, you know. So we have used it to position ourselves properly. I will also want to say that
Shall we put our hands together for Chami Kwame? Yeah, for now. But let me just push back a bit and ask that in regards to your view that we have to establish our own brands, like social media brands and all that. Yes. Would you rather look at it from the point of partnering with already established ones and learning from some of the things that they do as you look forward to eventually getting to a space where there will be established Ghanaian and maybe
which
African
ones?
brands?
Instagram, TikTok, in partnership with Wachami Kwame? No. I think that, you know, this is the time for Africa. We need to show and prove. We need to let the world know that we are not only waiting for prayers, we can also do something. You know, so I don't think that, I mean, what would be the exchange? What am I going to exchange with Zuckerberg for? My brand? Am I going to leverage my brand? No. It's important that not just 10 people, it's important that Africa tries to set up in-market activities that will keep our money here so that we do not have to need too much, or we have to lower the dependency on the West so that they will respect us.
Thank you so much, Ochame Kwame. We're very grateful for your presentation. I'm sure we'll come back before we leave here. But let me go to the film producer and one of the leading content producers and marketers that we have in the market. Ivan, over the last year, I mean, we've known you on the traditional side of production, television, radio, and all that. How have your business gone? To what extent have you maximized the benefits of the digitization during this last year when COVID struck?
Well, the first thing is that we had a wake-up call that we needed to think outside the box, do something different. Because for a long time, we knew the problems with the film industry. We knew that films were made on very little budgets and that it was difficult to make return on investment when you make your films. I mean, it's only in Ghana that when you try to produce a TV series, you would have to pay a TV station to show it for you, which means that you have to find money to produce it and then also find money to show it to the people. And so having found myself in advertising for a long time, I thought I was comfortable. And then when I left and started Farmhouse Productions, I was still doing corporate productions. Then COVID struck. And when it happened, the first thing that happened was that for the year, normally in the beginning of the year, you have a lot of projects that you've signed off that you are going to do. So, by the end of the year, you are making this billings. All that was cut. And we now had to sit down and think about what to do. Now, the good thing is that we had produced MTN Apps Challenge. So I had been dealing with app developers. I understood them. I knew their capacity and all that. And they were doing things that some of the Ghanaian, app developers, they were doing things that you will marvel, And the question of distribution, how to make money off the films that we make, was always the problem. You shoot a film, you take it to the cinema house, and the cinema house takes 50% of your proceeds. And so anywhere we turned as filmmakers, we were not making any headway. So we thought that why can't we use technology, digitization, to create something that can, solve the problem for us immediately, and also solve the problem of return on investment for the filmmaker. So we spoke to some people, and for about a year before the COVID hit, we were, trying how we can use technology to do this. We tried so many these things, and one of the things is that people are able to copy your work when you put it out there. So the main aim is to create something that will be very difficult for people to copy. And so we came up with farmhouse movies. Now, we know from our experience filming, shooting YOLO and putting it out on YouTube, that we are able to make about 250,000 views within the first 3-4 days when we load it up, which means that we had a large following. We know that the Ghanaian population, about 57% of the Ghanaian population is made up of young people below the age of 25. Africa has about 60% below the age of 25. We have about 1.2 billion people in Africa. And when we load up YOLO, we get response from all over the world. Now, we were creating farmhouse movies that can be seen immediately we load it across Africa, across the globe, across Ghana. The mobile technology and the internet is far advanced in Ghana. People are able to use their phones to download stuff, even in Tamale and all these places. So when we looked at all these metrics, we realized the best way is to use digitization to, first of all, go through the pandemic process, and then also create a platform that young filmmakers in Ghana can use. So when we developed, we were thinking about it. We thought about the target audience, the young people. They are digitally savvy. And when we load up YOLO, we get a lot of response. So if we create something that is like YOLO, it should be very easy to market, because already we had taken a break from the production of YOLO for some time, and we were under a lot of pressure from young people asking us to produce season 6 of YOLO. So we developed Strike, which we put out there. It was just a test, a leap of faith that we were going to, try and see if it worked. And we launched it. We had a few hitches here and there, but within a month, what happened was that iOS wasn't giving us approval for over a month. And so we were on Android from 24th December last year till like end of January before we got approval from iOS. And boom, it just took off. And within a month, we were like over 50,000 downloads. 2 months, we were approaching 100,000 downloads. And it was just going, and it became a craze. And that also gave us an idea that, okay, the problem with, because ours wasn't a subscription-based thing. You pay as you watch. because we did not have enough content. And we realized that Ghanaian filmmakers want to have control over their box office. So we developed this concept of sharing our dashboard. So when you bring your film, we would give you a dashboard, which you can immediately access anytime you like, 24/7. And you can pay yourself and stand there and see that it's reflecting on your dashboard that you're paying. So at the end of the week, when you are supposed to come for your money, in fact, you don't even have to come because you share your bank account with us and we just transfer it into your account. So at the end of the week, you can tell how much you are expecting, and that's exactly what you get. So that is the promise we are making to filmmakers now, that beyond strike, beyond just setting up the app, we are now escalating it to the point where we are opening it to other filmmakers, that we can use technology. Mind you, if after you've done all your promos, that you are showing your film in a particular cinema house, it's just a particular number of people that would go into that cinema house. But the moment you put your film on this app, as soon as it is put onto the app, immediately it can be seen in New Zealand, Australia, everywhere in the world, which means that you can have more than 100,000 people watching your movie the moment you put it on. And it's there every day, at any time. So when we have had strike on the app, I wake up in the morning and I look on my phone and I can see that people have been watching from midnight when I was asleep till morning, which means they were making money for me when I was sleeping. Do you understand? And that's the good thing about this one. And it's only happened when we realized that the doors that we were looking at were shut in our faces, and we needed to really look at other means of creating. And that is how this happened.
Oh, shall we put our hands together to Ivan? I think that out of the, we have said that the pandemic is a disease that has caused a lot of grief in the world. But out of that, there have been, different creative solutions to things that we didn't look at. The created opportunities that people are harnessing, which is one of the examples that Ivan gave. But Ivan, I think that we have spoken about the problems of the Ghanaian film industry without looking at some of the solutions. How, as a filmmaker, are you leading the people, your colleagues, on to accept the new normal and say that, okay, let's look at the different ways by which we can distribute our content and make money out of that? Is it a hard sell?
Well, when video came, there were some filmmakers who called themselves film purists, that they would never touch video with a 10-foot pole. They stood aside until it got to a point where you either get involved with video or you die. Do you understand? We are at that point again. When SMS came, lots of people didn't really know how to use the SMS. It takes time. So there are people in the industry who are thinking that, okay, Ivan has just created something that he wants to use to make money for himself. Now, if you are sharing 50% of your gate proceeds at the cinema house, and our promise to you is that we are managing the app. So we will just take 17.5% of the proceeds, and you are going away with 82.5%. That is a huge a chunk of the proceeds we are giving to you. The idea is not that we didn't like money. The idea is that we want you to go back and make more films, because the more we make, the more money we will make in the end. And so we need a lot of people, young people, making films and making money from that. And that is why I'm so excited about this particular project. It's not about money for me, but it's more for the industry. And mind you, if we have about 100 filmmakers making films and good films every year, the industry will change. We will be able to bring $25 million and even more into this economy. That is my objective. So there's a challenge of people believing me immediately, But I believe that as we go on and they start seeing the results of what we are doing, they will come on board.
So just to wrap up with Ivan, then maybe the point you're making is similar to what Ochami Kwame made earlier about creating our own, brand. So instead of filmmakers looking towards what you call it, Netflix,
Amazon.
and Amazon and those other platforms, maybe we should rather look internally and see how we can also build our platforms and exploit that to our advantage and our benefit. Is that it?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. We have 1.2 billion people in Africa. Ghana, we have about 30 million or 31 million people. Now, what the returns that are made by filmmakers from the cinema houses or when they sell their DVDs or VCDs doesn't cross even over, let's say, 20,000 people. Now, here's an app that is open that, we have more phones in Ghana than people. We have about 60% of the phones that are in Ghana are smartphones. And I already said that about 57% of the population are young people, and they are the ones that are digitally savvy. So for me, and I've also looked at what the YouTubes have been doing. We put YOLO on YouTube. How much money do we make from YouTube? What we make from YouTube cannot produce an episode of this thing. So what you make for 13 episodes cannot produce one episode. You get it. So how can you go back and make another film if your film is on YouTube? And then if you go to the other ones, like the Netflix and those ones, they have some stringent procedures. And also right now, they even have what we call middlemen, aggregators who you have to pass through in order for your work to get out there. So if they are not commissioning you, you are just like making the film for, the fun of it. But with the population that we have in Ghana, with the population that we have in Africa, even if we forget about Caucasians, and we just look at black Africa, Africans or people of African descent all over the world, we can match up with Netflix and the rest. That is the thing I'm talking about.
Thank you so much. And that's Mr. Ivan Kwashiga, a film producer, and he has shared his experience over the last year on how he has created something that's pushing films, not for himself alone, but for other filmmakers as well. If you just join us online, you're watching the Graphic Showbiz Forum, and the topic is the second in the series. The topic for today is maximizing the benefits of digitization in the COVID-19 era. And we have heard from Mr. Sadiq Abdullah Abu, an event organizer and producer of executive producer of 3 music awards and the other brands around it. We also have Mr. Ochami Kwame, a musician and a rapper. He calls himself the Rap Doctor. He's given us experiences about some of the things he's done since COVID came in terms of as a music artist. And then also Mr. Ivan Kwashiga also just shared his experience with us. Some other people have joined us. The comedians came late, but they eventually found their way here. We have Obia Mponsa to my left, a very leading comedian. And shall we put our hands together for Obi for joining us? And we have his brother also, a comedian. He's called Lexi the Comic. And he's also joined us. Lexi, welcome. We also have in our midst, along with them is the blogger, Mr. Zion Felix of zionfelix.com. Welcome, Zion. And then we have Madam Doreen Hammond, who is the editor of The Mirror, who's joined us today and giving us support as we discuss these topics. And we'll continue with the conversation. The next person to speak is Mr. Amiel Deborah. Amiel, you have been doing this for a very long time. As I mentioned before, a lot of people knew about blogging. You were blogging. and you became like the SI unit for blogging in Ghana. And what have you done differently from all that you've been doing since 2008 from the last 1 year?
So about 3 years ago, I decided to do something quite different. I started doing something quite different from what I started off in terms of the writing and the blog. And so I introduced Amia TV, which was supposed to be for video production and video content. So when I started it, I was going through the difficulty of people buying into what I wanted to achieve, and the cost, the investment I had put into buying equipment, setting up, and paying people was really quite frustrating. But sometime in 2019, it was picking up, especially with our coverage of events. So people would pay us to cover events the way we did. And it was really booming, booming, booming. And we were looking at 2020 to be like a time to build on that and even take it further. And then, unfortunately, just that's when the pandemic comes in. And so it means we could, and the first phase of it, we really couldn't even meet to even produce. So a lot of that stopped and events were not happening. And when it comes to now creating content on the website, a lot of the content we wanted to create around that time was about COVID. And the interesting thing is we're not even making money off COVID at that time, because the big people like Facebook, like Google, had come out that because it's a pandemic, you could not even monetize. And so everybody was thinking like everybody's home, so those of us online are milking it, but it wasn't quite the case. So it was quite difficult, but especially the first couple of maybe weeks into a month. But fortunately for me, the influencer part, which is one part of what I do, later on picked up because a lot of people, a lot of business, a lot of brands were now going digital and looking at people who could lead that conversation for them online. And so immediately I started having a lot of brands wanting me to promote whatever they were doing so that they could reach that new people that perhaps I hadn't reached. And I have been in this space for a very long time. And anytime I have to speak, I talk about how businesses often overlook us because they always stick to traditional and mainstream when it comes to spending. So this was a good time that we are now seeing bits of that. And I also had to sort of change my content. I even now started creating specific content for brands within the COVID period. For instance, one came up to me and asked, "What can you do for us around this time?" They wanted to create a site meant around sports, and it was a drinks company. We created a specific content for them, just to bring back that was a word. Bring back the love for sports, football, whatever. And so we create specific content for that. And I found an interesting way to market for different brands by putting myself in. Fortunately, we now had something like Reels on Instagram, where I could create content the way I wanted it. So I started using Reels to do a lot of marketing for a lot of the people who brought products to me to sort of showcase. So this has been how we traverse this journey of COVID in the last couple of last year up to now. Yeah.
Oh, so eventually what people said that those of you online were killing it became true.
It happened. The truth is, the online space is such a way that people kill it on different levels, and depending on what kind of brand you are creating, what kind of direction you're going, you will kill it in one way or the other. And for me, what I do, I was suffering in one way, but then, like I said, it's the influencing bit that really sustained it and helped me to grow. But in terms of the website, it wasn't generating money. And as for YouTube, quite a bobo. My content, it doesn't fit into the general YouTube culture in Ghana where they are after specific kind of things. Almost me, I brought for them too much, but that is the kind of content I want to create, and I think there is room for that as well. So it's a bit of all of that.
Okay, thank you so much, Ami. I will come back looking for way forward. But let's speak to Mr. George Britton to tell us, as an artist manager and an online content creator as well, digital content creator, artist manager, and all that, what has been your strategy and your implementation plan over the last 1 year in terms of how you harness the opportunities in digital?
All right, thank you very much. My name is still George Mentor Britton, popularly known as George Britton. I'm an artist manager, but before that, I run an agency called a GB Interactive. So basically, before Corona, we're doing our thing. What we mostly do is represent some brands, especially I like to deal with the beverages, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. So for the past 5 years, I think I've been running for some beverages. No, I think from 2015, I've been running for some beverages. So to me, it wasn't a case of losing for me because I was still, in the space. One of the things that we really were able to, grow into was to also come up with an influencer agency called the Digital People, which because we are, we have relations with a lot more of brands. We were hired to do some services for them, which, and I was glad to call upon my brothers, Felix here, and of course, and Deborah here, whom I did work with during the period. So I think Corona in some way became a blessing to them, and of course me, which, we were able to monetize some of the things that, were presented to us. Aside that, I'm an artist manager as well. In somewhere 2019, I signed on Camido to work with. So in the initial stage of 2020, we had a mini concert to raise funds for single mothers at 37 Military Hospital. Afterwards, the plan was to tour the UK for a short period. Unfortunately, the COVID cut it, so we had to rush home. Whilst we're under the lockdown, we were able to, figure out something, which we were able to come up with an EP called a contingency plan. We named it contingency plan because we were planning to release an album, and because of the situation at hand, we decided to, pull a pause because he was a new artist, so that we could test the waters with something that we could create. So yes, we created an EP, and it did well. It did well in the sense that we're able to, force and activate all the online methods that we've learned over the years. I have been in the online space for a very long time. I used to be with GhanaMusic.com way back in 2005. So the online space has been my home for a very long time. And aside Camido's activations, we were able to realize, some improvement. In the music space, before Corona, we knew what was going to come, but not with that speed. Because there were no concerts, there were no, activities to earn artists some money. So what we had to do was to, quickly come up with ideas and plans to engage his fans. And one of the things we did was called the WhatsApp video call with Camido, where we had, some very good brands coming on board to support. So basically, that was to engage his fans. And one of the things we did was we put out a message for his fans to, bring in their contact numbers, which they did. And we spent like 2 hours of his time, reaching out to the fans, because then again, it was a new artist, we felt like we had to build the fan base. And through WhatsApp video calls and through social media, it was quite a perfect moment for us. So COVID came, even though we're missing the big stages, within our space, we're able to monetize our movement.
Shall we put our hands together for George Britton, George Mensa Britton, simply known as George Britton, or GB. But George, I think that one of the things that artists talk about, and even their managers, you also referred to, was the fact that there were no concerts, physical concerts where event organizers would pay that thing. But some of the musicians found a way around that, including their own virtual concerts or improving their presence on the audio, streaming platforms. From the perspective of you and Camido, what are some of the things that you got yourself into?
Well, I think we did. We could did some special concerts. We did few. He then again introduced a studio performance where he gets to perform, to his fans. Because he's a producer, he records the songs and performs it in his studio so that people could watch. We did that. I think his streaming shot up because we were very visible in the space. So his streaming really shot up. Then, he had a song called For My Lover. But before COVID, people didn't really know the person behind the song. So we used that period to, really activate him. And yeah, even though there was lockdown, there were some few parties and weddings happening. The stubborn ones were still organizing weddings and parties, which, because of the kind of music it does and the our target audience, we were able to fit into some of these places. A few small gatherings where people are having their birthday parties. One of the things we also did as a team was to also activate the performances. So we did with few people. I quite remember we started with Nana Banamwa and her friends. So basically, we put together, we bring our whole set to your house. And of course, you and few friends, because of COVID, probably 10, 12 at most. And we performed to you and your friends because we realized that in as much as his music was nice, people had to, feel him. So we somehow had to do things like that. He performed to some few people, some friends who were not popular, but we were able to activate for him to do about 1,000 plus people. And we were looking at maximizing this, now that it's almost opened, yeah.
Thank you so much, George. And we realized that you've been busy over the last 1 year with Camido. And so we'll go to the final speaker on the panel, and we welcome George Quay and others who've joined us now. And Mabel, you have been into this fashion accessories and things like that for as long as I can remember. You've been doing this, you've been doing online sales, and all that. But over the last 1 year, things might have been different from what you've done over the period. Tell us what your experience have been since COVID, struck in terms of the taking advantage of the digital space.
Oh, okay. So, the first 2 weeks of the lockdown it was mentally draining because then you know that you need to send staff home and you need to shut your business. So we had to close our retail shop and then stop production. And a few people, that face mask was very expensive then. You could buy a box for like 250 Ghana cedis or 300 cedis. And it was at the same time that WHO had issued a statement to say that the reusable face mask, they would not recommend it. So although we had a few people or some people asking us if we're producing, we couldn't really do it because then, someone is going to send a flyer and then say that it's not the best. Everyone was going for the disposable or the surgical mask. But I had a doctor friend whom I spoke with, and then he said that, go ahead and do it. So we researched, and he showed me how to go about it, make sure that it's 2-ply, 3-ply. I spoke with a pharmacist, and then I said, okay, I'm not too sure if people are going to come and buy it if we make it. So can I come and put them in your shop, in your pharmacy? And he said, okay, fine. So the first day when we made the samples, I remember it was a Friday, and we made just 20 pieces. And we put it up on Facebook. The response we had, it was crazy. Now we had to work throughout the weekend, so like 7 times a week, 24/7, we're working. What helped us was that I was able to accommodate some of the production staff in my home, and then we also had to now find more people because there was a lot of demand for it, and the only way we could deliver was through courier because, there was no way you're going to go out or people come to the shop or to your home for them. So now we had to look for seamstresses and tailors in the community because now no one was going out, so no one is making clothing anymore. So now these people that on a normal day, you're not going to give employment to, you go to them and then you say that, so you give them the fabrics or the raw materials and then they make it. So what we did was now we're creating employment for people in the community. And that's what sustained us for till, let's say, late December or late last year, when things started picking up gradually. Then people were now buying handbags, laptop bags. Initially, we weren't also making clothing, but then we realized that, I mean, everyone needs clothing. So, I mean, you can't go out naked. So then we said, okay, aside the accessories, let's also add clothing to what we're making. And we've had a good response so far. It also made, realized a lot more Ghanaians also embrace digital payment, because back in the day, I mean, people would want to come into the shop or pay cash to their delivery person. But now everyone is like, using Momo. So now realize that Ghanaians have embraced digital payment, unlike previously where every transaction was based on cash. But you'd also be able to do this if you've built or you've built your credibility, because there are a lot of scammers online, and people don't trust you. So we don't really have the issue of people saying that I want to receive the product before I make payment. So you need to build your credibility, make sure that people are honest with you. And interestingly, we're able to increase international shipping. So although we are making face masks here, people in the Netherlands, in the US, and UK were buying face masks from Ghana. And our international shipping went higher than the previous years. And it's still that because then people also go online and are following your page, and they realize that they look at the reviews, they look at your comments, and they know that you're a credible person. So, they can buy from you, they can make payments, because they're supposed to make the payments before you ship their item. So credibility for us, I mean, went up probably like 90%. Yeah, so that's it.
So that's Mebe Simpson, CEO of MSIMS. And you just said that until this time, you were not making clothes. What you were doing was just accessories to clothes. But so this created another opportunity for you to do that. But for you as a fashion entrepreneur, what were the main challenges? If you have to list maybe two, what were the main challenges that you face as a business during this period of COVID, and especially in regards to the digital setting?
Well, I mean, the main challenge was basically your regular products. People are not buying your regular products anymore because no one is going anywhere. So for us, we had to re-strategize. I mean, what people were buying were face masks. So as a business, you re-strategize. But you know that you have stock there, and once you have stock sitting in your shop, that means that you have your money, locked up. And then you have raw materials, because in our space, you always need to buy raw materials in bulk. So you have all your leather and your other accessories sitting there, and no one could tell when all this was going to be over. So yes, you are cash strapped, because I mean all your money is in your raw materials that's locked up in the warehouse.
Okay, so that's a very tough challenge, I presume. Shall we put our hands together to Mabel Simpson? Very grateful for your time and your experience that you just shared with us, and we are very privileged to have in our midst the CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Mr. Akwesi Ajiman. And I'm sure when we come to Mr. Ajiman, he will tell us also about some of the challenges that, as the person who's supposed to market Ghana as a tourism destination, has faced over the last 1 year, and what are some of the things that they've done around that. But we're very grateful. We've heard from all our panel members, from the event organizer to the artist, music artist, to the filmmaker, to the one who was blogging before we knew what blogging was, to the fashion entrepreneur, and to the artist manager. And at this stage, we would come to the audience and ask that if anybody has any question or any contribution to make in the next, maybe say 20 minutes, we take them before we go to our panel for the final comment. So it's time for interaction between us and the panel. Any question, any contribution that anybody has based on what has happened over the last an hour. So we'll take them. Mike, yeah. Mr. George Quay wants to say something.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I think if there's anything COVID-19 has taught our industry, and especially listening to Ochame Kwame and my boss, Mr. Ivan Kwashiga, is the fact that it is about time we had a very, very important discussion on our collective space. When I talk collective, I'm talking Gumro, ASOG, and all the agencies that collect all kinds of monies on our behalf, because we're all creatives. When COVID hit, no other industry in the world was hit as bad as our industry. Other industries are coming out of it. We are still suffering. I mean, some of us had to literally back to get even cinemas reopen. And even then, it's going to take a while before things become as they were. However, listening to everybody on the panel, you'd realize that some way, somehow, we're still working. Or some way, somehow, we had works that if our collective societies, if our collective agencies were up and doing or were properly functioning, Ochame Kwame wouldn't have to worry that there's COVID, so he's hungry. Ivan wouldn't have to worry that there's COVID, so he is hungry. Aside being an event planner, Sadiq here has also been an artist manager before. He provides content for television and other stuff. He wouldn't have had to worry. I mean, everybody else on that panel, everybody in this auditorium is tied to one kind of royalty or the other. I am an actor. I am an actor still.
You are back to acting.
Yes, that's why. I just remembered. You know.
Exactly.
So, and I honestly do not remember the last time. In fact, all my life, I started acting professionally and getting paid for it in 1998. I've been paid royalties just once. Just once. And from time to time, we hear that, oh, this person is sick, and they want money. They want to go and support the person and all that. It does not have to be that way. So if there's anything COVID has taught us, it's taught us that this is the time that we need to have that very important discussion about the people that collect monies on our behalf. Because if those organizations were properly set up, were properly led. I mean, yesterday at the VGMA conference, there was one of the major issues that came up about Gumro and how they distribute royalties and all those things. And it cannot continue to be like this. If the industry was properly set and these collective societies were doing what they're supposed to be doing, I don't think this industry would have been so hard hit. So it's about time we had that conversation as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. George Quay. There's a hand in the front. Two hands, actually. So if you just joined us, we are at the Graphic Showbiz Forum, and the topic for discussion is maximizing the benefits of digitization in the COVID-19 era. And we are, at this stage, taking comments and suggestions and questions from the audience. Mr. Makwa.
Yeah, I would just want to, mine is just to commend Graphic Showbiz for leading the way. I think that everybody will agree with me that this is one of the ways that we can fix Ghana. People are crying, fix Ghana, fix Ghana. Graphic Showbiz, you are leading the way in fixing the creatives. I think that for me as a musician, those days that we used to carry CDs to Makola, Cantamanto is over. So we need platforms that we can sell our music. And we will pray that since our boss is behind us, we pray that they will also think of that. And I also want to use this opportunity to ask our musicians the scanty royalties that we receive. If we can put it on hold for, let's say, 3 years, and the monies that they accrued, if they can use it to buy that thing that will give us that platform that we can sell our music to the world, that will help us. So this is my plea.
Okay, so Mr. Mankwa is suggesting that the collecting societies hold whatever money they have now, keep it and grow it for another 3 years, and then use it to establish platforms where they can distribute music properly. That's a very but that's something food for thought and for the powers that be to look at. Thank you so much for your contribution. We have another contributor. Shall we hear you, sir?
My name is Big Goon. I'm an artist and a filmmaker. I'm really impressed by how far our creatives have come with regards to social media. But there's a big concern. The concern is that most of you had your exposure from traditional media. And you're already known. They know you. So people are actually looking for you online. So it's much more easier to spot you. So what happens to the ones who are not having fame from these traditional platforms, who want to use social media? And also I have a big question. The question is marketing with regards to, yes, the filmmaker. The biggest concern here is how to market your product to get people to actually come to it, to check it out. So if you put our content on the platform, what happens to the promotion aspect? Thank you.
Can we take the response?
Okay, so let me try and help you with the content one. So if someone should ask you right now, define the perimeters of your occupation. Someone asks me, I'll say I'm an entertainer. So because I am an entertainer, my primary energies go into entertaining people. So if you decide to become an entertainer, people will look for you. Whether, I'm telling you, even for us, for a person like me, I've been a musician for 20 years. Social media and the new trends, it's a threat for me. But wherever there's a threat, there's an opportunity. It's for young people like you. So if you've been trying to get TV3 to come to your launch, the launch of your album, and they never come. I'm telling you, for social media, if you wake up and decide that every Sunday, you and your cronies will sweep the gutters of your neighborhood and cover it with your phones and put it on YouTube, you get 1 million views every day. Content nowadays, like he was saying, is guided by two things. It's exciting. The people want exciting and people want sensation. But there can be negative sensation and positive sensation. So if you want to be spotted easily, you need to position your content to feed into the hidden needs of the consumers. So it's not about being an artist for such a long time that people already are looking for you. It's about creating or curating exciting content that answers the need of the current problems of your consumers. I don't know if I've answered the question.
So,
I think
to add to that as well, beyond creating compelling content which would direct people, lately the digital platforms gives you the tools to enable you to get noticed and gain that much needed visibility. So the Boomplay guys are here, for instance. Of course, I know beyond Boomplay, there isn't much of them here, but when you go into Boomplay, they know the numbers, they know what works and all of that. To gain visibility as well, they understand some few things. So you have to get playlisted in some of the popular playlisting, for instance, so you can gain some level of visibility. And then there's the big one, which is gaining much needed attention and becoming the go-to point for discovery of music, TikTok. So you would see a number of these slow-mo challenges as it's being run. There are a number of things that's creating the trend that you can stake a claim to. I happen to know him on Twitter, also because you had by, in a certain way, become an influencer. How did you become an influencer, for instance? There are certain content that you're pulling out. There are certain things that you're doing that got everybody to pay attention to you. Then there are influencers like you as well that somebody can leverage to bring attention to them or bring attention to their content or products and all of that. So there are so many digital tools that makes it today. There are too many TikTok stars that are really making much more money and are not actually even needed, are not actually known on traditional media. It will get to that point where their numbers will begin to make sense to these these traditional platforms that they can't but have to go with them. Go on YouTube. My culture squad for my team, for instance, are people that individually have their YouTube platforms. And the numbers they are making on their YouTube platforms is crazy. These are 19, 20, 21-year-olds. You know, how do they begin to generate attention to themselves? They use TikTok, they use Instagram Reels. There are a number of things that makes it even much more possible today to get noticed and gain that much needed visibility than even traditional media. But traditional media obviously would be the easiest to give you that, to activating your brand. But digital today is the way.
Suffice it to say that
the social media.
suffice it to say that if you invite us, TV3 will come.
So, I mean, your question was about immediately biting off what he's had and built over the period. You should understand that, also have the mentality that you go into somewhere and you want to build. So you should start engaging your community, and with that engagement, you will be able to build it, say, on the Twitter, Instagram, whatsoever. It's not just about the numbers and almost immediately, but the culture of being able to engage them and grow with them also helps new people to find you, and then it goes like that. Of course, there's a lot of strategies you can look at, good stands, and right partnerships, and all of that that can help your presence online as well. So I would like you to think of it from that point as well. I mean, examples of what he gave really fit into that. There are people didn't know, but they're able to build. And like yourself, I'm sure you're one already. You are able to build that community, and then it grows from 2 people to 4 people, and it goes on. And most of the time, when you're able to do that, it's more organic, and you feel the benefit more than just looking for the numbers almost immediately. All right, thanks.
Well, so they've answered your question. So, well, in terms of promoting my app, right? Is that what you?
The content on the app.
Promoting
People who partner with you via bringing their films.
All right. Okay. So what we did, I mean, till now, what we've done is to work on the low-hanging fruits, the things that our strengths. We have following, we have huge following, and then we also are able to create content that following wants. Okay. So we went to the extent of even the casting. How do we cast? You cast people that have following so that when they post, you can get the buzz you want. Do you understand? So we took all that into consideration before creating Strike. Now, having done that, we have built a critical mass of followers. And then, and mind you, it was only on social media that we advertised. We didn't have the money to do traditional advertisements. We were posting only on social media. So all the cast were supposed to post. I had a online manager that was supposed to be posting on weekly basis. And with that, we created this buzz. Now, the next step is to now bring in other partners. And then the other thing to the consideration too is that we've created a platform that must deliver. Okay? You don't want to create your platform that you put other people's work on it and it will crash. And then you ruin your reputation and everything. So we tested it with ours, and then we started opening it up to other people. The people that we have on our platform now are also just testing with us. And I can tell because it's not like very commercial. They didn't really have that much commercial attitude towards putting their content on our platform. They want to see whether when we promise them that if I give you the dashboard, if payment is made, I can see it. If it is time for me to receive my money, I can receive it. Then after that, before other people, the real commercial activity would start. Then again, we would have been going to other partners, like to the telcos, with the numbers that we have 150,000 people on this platform. If you partner us, mind you, payment is made via Momo. You can use your Momo to pay for farmhouse movies. You can use Visa. You can use MasterCard. Now, and it's very, very cheap. So now, if they come on board, then we will be able to leverage the traditional advertisements on radio and TV and billboards and all that. But we would have done the initial work. We would have done the stress testing of the app using our numbers. Do you understand? So then we can build it up and blow it up. When other people come on board now, we are still using our resources in terms of our following on social media and our artists to push their contents on our platform. But within a month or two, you would see that we are going to be going traditional. Okay?
Thank you so much, Ivan. I like to say that we have people who join us on Zoom, and if you're on Zoom and you have any question or contribution, we'll bring you in. But also on Facebook live platforms and all that. So any question, any comment, any suggestion? Yes, we go this way. Mike? There was one mic here. Okay, Ricky.
Okay, good evening. I don't know if this goes to anyone, but hearing Mr. Ivan speak, it opened my mind to something. I don't know, but we need to begin to have that conversation as well because it's on YouTube. I'm very much aware of, the numbers, they are raking in on their YouTube channel. Over 500,000 views, 700K, 800K and all of that. And it was quite surprising to hear him say they can't even make revenue to produce even a single episode. But now a lot of people are being made to believe that YouTube is the new way. Anyone who is who produces or who goes live will even convert and put it on YouTube. And from what I'm hearing, it's a big problem. Before we realize, it appears like it's a trend. We are seeing everybody going on YouTube, going on TikTok, Zion Felix doing it, Kojo Sheldon posting how many people he's reaching and all of that. We need to begin to have the real conversations, need to get people to understand the revenue models, because before we realize, a lot of good people who can produce a lot of content, instead of reaching out to maybe the right organizations, even traditional, who may even want to invest, because of their belief in YouTube and various other, digital platforms, we may lose out on all of these things. So I don't know if anyone has any more insights that I don't know with respect to, these YouTube numbers, because it always seems like, oh, Charlie, you need to get 1,000 subscribers or 10K subscribers and you're beginning to make money. And now a lot more people are getting on YouTube and it's getting risky.
Well,
maybe Zion and I will share experience.
Well, I mean, what you're saying is very accurate, and there can't be a simple answer to it because they also look at a number of metrics before the revenue even comes in. So, if, for instance, you are getting 1 million views from Ghana, somebody with just 100,000 views from the US will probably get about 10 times what you're earning because it's about advertising. And you remember when I said earlier, I said in the digital space in Ghana, it hasn't worked in terms of online advertising. If you're honest, if you go to YouTube, you realize that currently perhaps there's Yango or Glover, and you see these people, Glover and Boat, they are the ones that constantly, there isn't enough quality advertising for people who are watching within Ghana to engage with the advertisement and then sort of you earn any high revenue from. But somebody can be in Ghana and all the audience for what he does or she does is from America. And that person will not be making as many views as somebody else who is doing that, but will be making more money from what he's getting. So people must understand all of these, and of course, what kind of brand they are building, what kind of audience they're looking for, and then take what comes their way, because that indeed is, I think, the simplest answer I can. Zion has been making millions from it, so I will leave him to answer.
So let's hear from the YouTube millionaire, Zion Felix.
I think Amir has said almost everything. It's very difficult to know the exact amount of money somebody's making. With YouTube, I used to hear people say that if you get 1,000 views, you earn $100. There's nothing like that, because the number of minutes a person stays on your content even count. Because you might have a 30-minute video on the platform. Somebody comes in to watch just 2 minutes. It won't be the same as somebody watching 10 minutes of other person's content. Most people do say that artists get a lot of money from their videos because they've had 1 million views. And I say, it doesn't work like that. Somebody might get 1 million views on a 3-minute video. And Amaya might post a 30-minute video and might get like 100,000 views. But you'll be surprised that Amaya might get more money than the person who had 1 million views. So most of these people putting their content on YouTube, most of us, we are doing trial luck. We are just learning on the job. So we can't give exact amount of money that maybe if you post a video a day, you get $10,000 or $5,000. Somebody might post a video just once a week, like Delay. Delay posts once a week. Some of us, we post almost every day. So if it gets that, you can't say that because Zion Flex, I might even post every day, but be making 10,000 views, and maybe Delay will post once a week, might make 20,000 views on just a video. She might be earning more. So many things go into making. Yeah. So my people from Kumasi are doing it because maybe when they go on set, they are paid, let's say, 1,000 cedis or 2,000 cedis for a movie. But if he or she shoots a content and start put it on YouTube, every revenue comes to him or her. And he or her doesn't share it with anybody. So I think that is why most of my people from Kumasi are doing that. And then their content are the ones that people want to watch. Now, people are always home waiting to have fun on YouTube. So YouTube is not like how everybody sees that it fetches a lot of money. I mean, I just said that some of his content don't really give money. If you watch Sheldon's content, he posts like 9 minutes, 8 minutes. You can't compare that to this guy, the one who does a lot of interviews with the real estate guys. Woody Maya, yes. Woody shoots like 40 or 50 minute videos, minute video, and he gets a lot of views. So I think in Ghana right now, all over the world. Yeah. So as I said, if somebody watches your video from Ghana, I mean, you earn like $1 or 1 point something dollar. But if somebody from the States, UK, and other parts of the world watches your content, you earn more. So we shouldn't put all our energy in YouTube. As our boss said, Ivan, if you put your movie on YouTube, I'm not sure you earn that amount that you used to shoot the content. So they should look elsewhere and leave the platform for something.
And then besides, Francis, it's a volume trade. And so obviously,
let's hear from Sadiq, please.
It's a volume trade, and so obviously the number of people that you have could to a large extent also determine how much you're making. For instance, YouTube gives you access to a global audience as much as possible, and I mean it's strictly it's small, but obviously if it's a bigger audience away, also in the diaspora, you could also be making money. But for a lot of the artists, or particularly those that do music, the idea is that you should be able to put it on, say, YouTube, Boomplay, Spotify. Across all these platforms, every quarter you're supposed to be raking in a certain amount of money. And then there's a promotional part of it where you'd have to go out of your way to ensure that your content is seen across in all these markets. But of course, the platforms like Ivan's, aside from the fact that it makes it easier for you to access, unlike Netflix, also gives you the opportunity to make some real money that you can see. So, I mean, if you're working with Ivan, for instance, and put it there, whereas YouTube will take you probably a quarter for you to get that 1.99 cent per person for watching the 30 minutes content. For instance, from Ivan's case, it's almost all direct. And that's why it's refreshing to hear from him, for instance. But of course, you will need a combination of all these platforms for you to be able to rake in, I mean, eventually.
Right.
Not also forgetting that there are different agencies that you may not even know who take part of the money that would have come to you, because they all work around the value chain to make their money as well, and then distribute it in different.
And then there's a derivative effect as well. I mean, I'll mention the influencer part of it. So I'm sure in the same way TV works, where TV stations put out the content to harness a certain audience and get to advertisers. sometimes as well for platforms like that they do. I've seen advertisements on Zion Felix's YouTube page, for instance, which is direct, which you could say it was from here. I've seen one on Kofi TV as well, where the brands are hitting him up. Once you are able to mine the insight and give it to them, because there are a lot of brands that are looking to the diaspora audience who are keep looking back home to consume the kind of content the likey and co-like. Interestingly, the Kumawood content that a lot of people look down upon are that content which attracts the diaspora. And because there are brands and organizations and services targeting the diaspora, they could give you the money, and so you could make some advertisement on top beyond the YouTube revenue that comes to you as well.
I also want to talk about the YouTube part of it. And, you know, when we put things we do for love, YOLO and all that, you know, almost everybody you meet, he tells you, they actually tell you, oh, I have it on my laptop. I have it on my pen drive. You know, you create work and it's so easy to download it off YouTube. And when that happens, then you cannot really make in that much. So in the situation where YouTube is not even giving you that much, it also makes access to it so easy that people can just, you know, you should be able to live off your creative work for the rest of your life. And as creative people, and some people, it's just one thing they can do, and they should be able to live comfortably for a long time. So we should we should think about this idea of you know, people copying off YouTube. For discussion programs, interviews, and all those things that are just one-off, it's okay. But when you actually create something and craft it, and it's like a drama serial and those things, it becomes quite difficult to put it out there. So what we were doing for Farmhouse Movies is that we put a little bit of, we were using the YouTube platforms and all those other platforms as promotional tools. So we put like a minute of it on, the most interesting part on. And then at the end of it, we say, if you want to watch the full 30 minutes, then go to Farmhouse Movies and download to watch. So every week, you are receiving these things and seeing it on YouTube, and you are forced to go and watch it on Farmhouse Movies. That's one of the things we did to get the following.
Thank you so much, Ivan. And you're still with us at the Graphic Showbiz Forum, and the discussion today, the topic is maximizing the benefits of digitization in the COVID-19 era. We've had some very good insights into some of the things that the creative people are doing. Let me pick this, and then we'll go to Zoom and talk to those who are watching us.
Okay, so thank you. I've listened to almost everybody here and those who have contributed. Now it's like we're all talking about what the digital platforms are doing for us personally. That's the conversation we're having. We've not spoken about what the digital platforms will do for the music department or the music industry in a whole, the film industry in a whole, the tourism industry in the whole. What are we going to do as industry players to make sure that in this time of COVID, if a musician releases a song, there is a body that is making sure that you are getting what you need outside of the normal complaints of musical and Gamma and what have you? Are we not looking for other alternatives in this time so that we stop the complaint? This platform is for us to talk about what we can do, what it can help us to do. What conversation should we be having? Chairman Kwame said something which I think I found it very, very interesting. That why don't we create our own platforms here? Why? Is there anything difficult? Look at the number of intelligent, smart brains around us. Why can't we create our own platforms that will be able to now follow up with the benefits that we will get? But it's as if all we're working for is to pay other people outside this place. Do we need to now start putting up a conversation of setting up our own agenda for the industry, music industry, film industry, and not about individuals? I think we've had so many individual conversations that the industries itself needs to now get on these platforms and help ourselves. A clear example, George Gray made an example that now you see a musician begging for money, asking for, Can we move from that conversation and now get to an alternative apart from musical, apart from gamble?
So,
With
Obi,
digitalization?
Nati, let me push you
Yeah,
and say
push me.
that.
Push me.
Let's move forward.
Yes.
What sort of suggestion would you make
Like I'm
for
saying,
the respective general industry or the respective industries on what are the things that we need to do to move beyond just complaining and doing?
and like I said, that's what Ochiami Kwame said, that let's create ours. If there is Spotify, right? Can we create something for ourselves?
Okay, so Ochami.
So I have created a social media, a Pan-African social media platform called Trender Square. It's on the iOS and Google, so you can download it right now. Yes, and we have also created lalafew.com, which is a subscription-based platform. The challenges that we have, the first one is space, because even though we want to be able to create a platform that we can collect money in Ghana and pay taxes in Ghana and use it to develop individual artists in Ghana, we still, as a nation, do not have the infrastructure to be able to collect all the 4,600 musicians in Ghana, collect their data or information, put it on Lalafio. It must still go back to iPhone. It must still go back to Microsoft. It must still go back to Russia. But I think that it's a beginning. It's an amazing place to begin. So 2 things that I would say. I think the first one, Mr. Ajima is here. The first one that we should do is that we should mop up all the little strategies and the little platform that we are creating. And I'm not supposed to say what I'm about to say, but this is a third world country. Everything is politics. And get the government to sponsor the infrastructure that all of us can begin to use for our space. That is one. And then the second thing that we are supposed to do as a people to help solve your problem is also to decide that we are going to unite. Because if we are not united and we are fighting, and I'm dissing this one, and my platform is competing with his platform for 5 CDs a day, and once we are not united, the politician will use it as a problem. And I think that it is important that we unite as an industry, and then create, because about 8 years ago, something happened. When the digital evolution was happening, at that time we had so many music producers in this country. We had Despite Music, we had Agicode, we had You Name It, we had so many of them. When the digital evolution was coming, all of them said that, and I said they started importing phones. So we shouldn't do exactly what they did. And the easiest way to do it and become competitive in the phonophile space is to come together. But before then, we need to find a way to become one.
Thank you very much. And I must say that apart from everything else, the most difficult part is the unity.
We shouldn't even expect it. But I mean, understandably, you also need to understand that creating digital platforms, it's but a very expensive venture. Doing digital itself is actually even a very expensive venture. Look, when I worked with Boomplay, there was a particular year we raised $20 million, right? And by October of that year, the $20 million was finished. And the Boomplay generally had to go back to investors again to raise more money. Look, it's expensive to create that robust platform first and foremost. It's expensive to create the user experience. It's expensive to market it. And then there's the content acquisition process. It's a different ballgame altogether. Beyond the legal loops, beyond the copyright issues, beyond the payment, because the point is that for Boomplay, for instance, every quarter there's a certain expectation, or YouTube or Spotify, there's a certain expectation from the talent that I got X number of streams or plays or whatever, and so I need a certain amount of money that should come to me. Whether you make money or not, you've got to give back or pay. So that's why, for instance, Spotify will tell you up until now, after so many years, they've never actually even broken even. Not to talk about all these other platforms. So it's a long play, and of course, it's not something that government on their own can do, because beyond actually the investment and all that it comes with and everything, it's very difficult. And that's why the likes of Ivan Sparrow and all of those needs the push. I think the route that Ochamo Kwame says, where there's an opportunity to have to help them to market and promote them so they can gain that much needed visibility here and abroad, as a platform where you can get original, authentic Ghanaian or African content. Maybe it will be one of the ways to help them to show up and make money as a way of supporting free enterprises to make it. But we need to understand that it is not something for the faint-hearted, and that's perhaps one of the reasons why even across the world you haven't had too much of the Spotify's, the Apple Musics, and the Boomplays of the world.
Thank you.
On to something. Also, I think that once this digitalization agenda goes successfully, it becomes easy, or even removes the role of Gambro and the likes. Because, for instance, if you are dealing with a platform and there's a dashboard, you see how much you're making and you're receiving your money, you don't need somebody to go and collect it for you. And even if you do, it makes it easy for the person to sort of tap into it and collect it for you. So I think it's very good that we go digital. It makes the work easy. So, yeah.
I think we need to pick some of the people on the Zoom. Anybody from Zoom want to say anything? There's a bit of experience as the head of the agency responsible for marketing our destination, on some of the things that we have done, some of the things that we're doing to ensure that we maximize the opportunities that digital create during this period.
Thank you, Francis. I assumed that I was here to learn, yes, but Francis will not let me. Let me start by thanking Graphic Showbiz and TV3 for putting this together. Sorry. Let me thank the organizers, TV3, Graphic Showbiz, for putting this together. Like I indicated, I came to learn. I came to really, really learn, because these are the experts sitting here. We don't know it. But the little that I know, from a feasibility we did about 2 years ago, in our industry, for example, about 80% of hotels don't even have a website. If you go to the hotel, they don't even have a computer that will get you to log in. So the receptionist will hand you a key, and then you enter the room. After the following day, you give the key out, and then you're gone. So no data, no ways that even the owners could trace who had come to the hotel and all that. So following from that, we also felt that we needed to put in place. So we started working on a Visit Ghana app platform that will enable people to book. Because if you take, for example, in 2019, when we did a year of return, a lot of hotels were complaining that, we saw people in, but they didn't book our hotels. And I said, where were they supposed to book? They were expecting them to get to Kokomlemle and ask, where's the nearest hotel? It doesn't happen anymore. So Airbnb, seeing that space, grew about 176% that year in Ghana alone. So I think this topic is not something that we can treat just today. It's something that we need to really take serious. We need to look at ways that we can do new things, chart new waters, look at new products. I just came back from Ethiopia. When I sat on the flight, the first thing I did was to look at the movies that were there. And then you had Asia, Europe, and then I went to Africa. There were about 6 movies, none from Ghana. I was hoping that I could get Ivan's movie to watch, but there was nothing from Ghana. So we need to look at new markets. I'm looking forward to the day that Ochiame Kwame will look for the rap doctor in China and collaborate, because that's a bigger market. How do we tap into that market? And here is Zion Felix talk about
I mean, I thought that when people are watching in Ghana, you're making the money. Now I also need to target the diasporas where they are. So I think this is a very useful forum, and I believe that the follow-ups will be even more important for us to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajiman. Very grateful. Let's take one comment from you. I think we'll take two more, and then we'll go back to the panel and see how we can wrap up.
Thank you. I'm Oswald, a poet. Through the conversation, I realized it's always been money, 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 money. But I believe in one philosophy. Yes, if you're able to create your worth, you'll be chased after by wealth. And I, for one, I found the digital space very beneficial as a poet and a literary activist. I think we should be looking more, especially the young ones coming. Of course, if you look at Ochami Kwame, having been there for 20 years, you can't just see yourself in the shortest possible time making it just like him. To be a king, you need to work like a slave, in a way. So I'm looking at how can we grow our brand. I'll be able to catch up with people from beyond the borders of Ghana. Through Zoom, I have readings. I'll be able to create a good relationship between myself and Ochami Kwame. I'm able to reach to the doors of higher people. I'm able to have reading. We just finished Father's Reading Caravan with MPs, all coming on board. So I think with the young ones, it should not always be about money. Once you're able to build a brand, you're able to get followership through the digital space, the money will come knocking at your doors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oswald. Oswald is a poet, a spoken word artist, and we're very grateful that you joined us today with your comment as well. Shall we hear from you, sir?
Okay, my name is Caleb Daz, and I'm from the University of Ghana. My concern is what's the government doing about these foreign things?
Government doing about what?
The foreign things like the YouTube, the Facebook. Are they going to tax them?
The only person from government is Mr. Ajiman. Maybe he'll answer that question for us.
When you look at this current news, when the Nigeria government was banned from using Twitter, they stood up against it and they were saying that Nigeria. When you look at a country like China, when you go to China, no Facebook, no YouTube, nothing. But they've become innovative, and they are using their own platform. So why can't we Ghanaians do the same thing here so that we can promote our indigenous innovative here in Ghana?
I think that point, let's give him a hand of applause. I think that point ties into most of what has happened here today, most of the conversation from Ochami Kwame, from Ivan, and from pretty much most of the contributors, is to look at how we can develop platforms, for ourselves, and then see how we can leverage those to our own benefit, so that, as Ochami says, our money will stay in our economy and it will not be taken out. But we need a lot of support from different stakeholders, especially also the government, to help build that infrastructure and to sustain that. So we'll go back to the panel, and then we would look at, from each of us, what we need to look forward to. What's the way forward? COVID hasn't ended completely. We're still in it. But even beyond that, what are some of the things that we'll do in our respective industries to make sure that we sustain these gains that we've made during this period and going on forward? Let's start from George Mensah Pritin.
Yeah, hello. All right, thank you. So, speaking as an artist manager, one of the things that we are looking at maximizing is, of course, our reach to the global audience with regards to music consumption. Because these days, unlike before, where somebody sits in Kumasi and do music for people in Kumasi, it's changed. I mean, your talk is clocking the numbers right from the UK to the US to down south. So it's gone beyond doing music for your community. And therefore, unfortunately, we've not been given the funds to, of course, build our own platforms. So we still have to go by the TikTok, which is #1 music promotional platforms now. Then, of course, the digital platforms like Boomplay and others. What we are going to do as new artists and, of course, new artists managers, what we want to do is to maximize by, first and foremost, applying all the techniques that we've learned on TikTok. Now, TikTok has come to stay. I mean, TikTok was introduced last year during the Corona era. We thought it was, we were just coming to stay for 10 days, but it's grown and it's had 1.1 billion subscribers today. So,
Donald Trump almost shut it down.
Yeah, that is why it's gone. So, I mean, we have about 1.1 billion people to consume our music. And for me to wake up in the morning and upload 50 seconds to 60 seconds of my teaser song there, the probability of me getting into a certain percentage among this 1.1 billion is high. So, TikTok, one amazing thing is that with TikTok, we've had some amazing influencers here in Ghana who are making headways on TikTok. So, as an artist manager, who is about releasing an album, what I do is that I have consulted or contacted some of these guys to also play a role of influencers for me, because if my music can light up there, of course, it can catch up in the world. The second thing we look at is the streaming platforms. I mean, fortunately for us, years ago, we're pushing for no free downloads. Some people didn't understand. I'm glad that today is here. These days, we don't go to the Ghana, this Ghana.com again to go download. We move to platforms like Boomplay. Now, the streaming platforms have given us I call it the new radio stations. So for me, back then when we were doing the CD, rounds, what we used to do was to make sure that our CDs go to a lot more radio stations to give us the buzz. Now it's changed. So a platform like Boomplay, how do I get my music to become bigger there? It is for me to get my songs on a lot more playlists. So if I can get my songs on a lot more playlists, Boomplay, Spotify, and all these platforms, that means that I have a lot more people. There are some playlists that has about 1 million plays. So if
and you don't have to pay payola.
Yeah, so yeah, so that's I don't have to pay payola.
It's a different payola from data.
So I mean, online has. As compared to traditional media, online is a bit cheaper, because if I'm to place an advert on Boomplay, I probably might spend $1,000 reaching the same amount I would have spent 100,000 CDs to reach on traditional media. So that is some of the things that we are looking at, putting your music on all these platforms. Then again, social media. Social media art, a few years ago, we thought advertising your music or your product on social media wasn't good because they say you bought the views. No, things have changed. I mean, Facebook has billions of people. Instagram has billions of people. How do I, who sits in Accra, Ghana, reach out to people on these platforms? Yes, I can post and get some few likes and few views, but because I want to maximize my business, I will have to invest by sponsoring. It's just like any product coming to TV3 to advertise. So I will encourage my young ones coming down. Listen, online is the new way. Yes, traditional is still our wife, but online is the future. So, let's find a way, build the online platforms, invest in there so our music can be streamed. We sit here and our music is being consumed by people in Kenya, people in America. We are not topping, but, in top. I mean, Camido was fortunate to have his song to be featured top 10 in the UK. Why? Because we were actively online. So if we can move, should I say move? Okay, not move too much, but then if we can, base our promotional methods, not solely, more online, I think it will help us. I don't want to say solely, and I don't want to say move completely, because of course there's TV here and there's online.
So a kind of a balance.
Yes, because of course not everybody. I mean, in Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, the number of people that up there online is a bit okay, but there are the hinterlands that still watch this rush and all these things that we need to, advertise on platforms like that. But of course, the future is online, so we need to encourage ourselves. You need to find a way. I mean, listen, there are amazing digital marketers out there. They understand how these things work. So let's find a way, get to these people, and help our music to grow. Because, like I said, we're all going to win the Grammys, but we need our works need to be recognized out there.
Thank you so much. Shall we put our hands together for Mr. George Britton, artist manager and online interactive executive as well. Thank you so much, George. Let's hear from Mabel Simpson, CEO of MSings, on what we're looking for as far as your business and the sector that you represent is concerned going forward. What are we going to do?
I mean, for us in the fashion industry, we know that fashion from Ghana has been globally accepted because, I mean, a few of my colleagues in the industry, like Christy Brown and Diaba Sewa, have some of these foreign artists wearing their clothing for their video shoots and all of that. But I believe that at the end of the day, it's all about quality, and it's about us Ghanaians appreciating what we have here. If we don't appreciate what we have here, there's no way that the world is going to appreciate it. And COVID has sort of disrupted the supply chain a bit because the raw materials that we use are all imported. We are making the clothing and the accessories and the bags, all of them here. But, I mean, we are importing about 90% of our raw materials. Now, if you know that you are bringing in raw materials, I mean, the cost of shipping has gone up, and you may not even get the raw materials in time. It's time that I believe that we start looking at, we use leather a lot, but then all the leather is imported from Italy or Asia.
But you also use a lot of batakari.
Yes, that's from the north, but then how many of us have really, or are really appreciating the batakari? I mean, for the women, until Samira, the second lady, started using the fugu for her outfit, I mean, no one was really using it. But then for us, as a brand, we were using it for our throw pillows, and it's really cotton wool, so it's made our product different. So we don't always have to wait for, yes, the popular people help a bit, but we need to appreciate our own. So that's where appreciating our own also comes in. Cost of production is high. If we could look at ways of cutting down on our cost of production, then we know that we are going to be globally competitive, because if someone is going to buy a handbag and compare to how much they're going to buy a handbag from Europe, it's about the same, price range. So then you have a lot of people complaining that why are made in Ghana products expensive? But then that's not really the issue. The issue is the cost of production. We don't have a leather tannery in Ghana, but we have a lot of leather here. I mean, we can't process our leather. We are eating the leather. If you go and buy watch, you're going to buy Willie. But if that is processed, you're going to be able to use it for your bags and your shoes, yes? So, I mean, it's a broad conversation, but we are doing what we can. We are pushing, and it's going to take time. But then for me, I believe that we need to appreciate what we have, and we need to push it. Rome wasn't built in a day. Gradually, we are going to get there.
Thank you so much. Shall we put our hands together for Mabel Simpson from MSings, the fashion entrepreneur? And then we go to Amiel Debra. Amiel, for blogging, for people who create content online, what are we looking forward to going on from here?
Well, I think over the years, even the concept of what content is has changed from people creating 15 seconds videos on, say, TikTok to Reels and all of that. It shows you things are changing at a very fast pace. And it's important for us to tap into these cultures so that we also feed people what they want in terms of what is trending, what is new, and have our voice in all of that. It's important for us to tap into existing tools such as social media and the kind of reach they can give to us in terms of the content that we are producing. In terms of monetization, there are lots of different ways to look at it. I remember stating in the beginning that when I started off with the video production, we were not quite making it, but I found a way where now most of the content, people are paying me to come and cover events, or it's content that some brand is paying for. So all of these opportunities exist, and it's important for people to know what they want in all of it in terms of that space. But it's not going to come easy. It takes a lot of time to build. I mean, as I said, people have over the years not done enough advertising online, but it took something like COVID to sort of speed things up a little bit more. We are still not there yet, but it's good introduction, and it's important for the people that these brands come and engage with within this period to give them a good reason to keep coming. I think once it happens, then we have an ecosystem that supports people who are creating content to sort of make revenue. Last week I was at Malta Guinness. They did an interaction with their influencers, and to see the number of young people they were working with and how excited these young people were to create content around the brand and all of that, it shows you that we can do it. What happens elsewhere is possible. And those of us who have decided to create some sort of a career in that space, there will be a system that sustains it for it to move from now to the next stage. But because really, we don't even know what the next phase is going to be like. People are now doing artificial intelligence to know human behavior and preferences and all of that. So the next 10 years or so, we don't really know. But it's important for us to tap in to every space very early so that we grow with it and we're not left behind. I think that's how rapid this digital space is going to change, and for it to be meaningful to all of us, no matter how remote you may find yourself, is to go in very early and grow with it.
Thank you so much. I will put our hands together for Mr. Amir Debra, CEO of Amir Debra Media. And he was blogging before a lot of people knew what blogging was. Mr. Ivan Kwashiga, I think that even before COVID, we had seen a kind of down spiral of the Ghanaian film industry. And looks like COVID sort of decimated it completely. To the extent that even recently the film producers said that they're not going to allow their members to sell films to television stations and all that. Is that the way forward? If not, what are we going to do to resuscitate the film industry?
Well, I think that some of the solutions that these people are, coming out with are still, from the old ways of doing things. I believe that we are at a point where we need to understand that we have tools now that even though we have problems, the problems that we have, we can leapfrog them with tools that we can use. Okay, when the COVID hit, we said that we were not going to look at the challenge that it presented to us, but we should look at the opportunity that is inherent in it and how we can leverage the things that we know to survive. I don't know about the Ghanaian film, the filmmakers that are saying that they don't want to sell films to TV stations. And what that happened, for me, when you create a situation like that, you are creating a vacuum. And that vacuum has to be filled. There can never be a vacuum. So it has to be filled. And something will fill it. And when that fills it, then what have you achieved? In the end, you now have to go back and fight for a space. So we have to look at things more deliberately and discuss things into details to know how these things benefit us. When we set out with farmhouse movies, there are people who think that it will go nowhere. The same way that when video came, people thought that they were never going to touch video. In the long run, some of them ended up working on video, and those who did not ended up retiring and going away into other things. The digital evolution that is happening is not going to wait for people to decide when they want to jump on board. It will leave you behind. If you look at a situation where you take your film to a cinema house, and you have just a number of people in there, it is more for the experience now. It's more experiential to go to the cinema. You take your girlfriend, you take your wife or your family to go and have a good time in a cinema. People are watching movies or content on the go now. They want to watch it at their own time. They want to watch it in the middle of the night or whenever they want it. They want to have it there. That is the new way of doing things. In the past, when they would announce that there's a film and then everybody will rush to go and watch it, it's gone. And we need to understand that as filmmakers and be able to do that. The next thing is that we need to know the people we are making the films for. If we want to achieve results with the content that we are creating, we may never know it, but Hollywood actually has researchers who would do research and get to know what kind of story would work, what kind of artist, if they put into the story, would work, what kind of, they know all these things. They even deliberately bring comedians to inject comedy into their story because they know that will sell. This is how I want our filmmakers to be thinking now. We need to be thinking commercial. We need to be thinking how we can reach our people and in that way be able to make money from the films that we make. If we do that, the banks will come. They will come knocking on our doors. At the moment, when you go to any of these financial institutions that you have a film project, they will be asking you what is in it for them. But if you can prove that when you make your film, there's so much money you can make. And when we created a dashboard, the farmhouse movies, together with this dashboard, we can print it out for you to see. And I'm sure if these people see these things, they immediately will know, okay, there's some promise here. We can put something into it and see how it will come out. So this is the way to go. So the last thing I will say is, selfishly, I would encourage you to download Farmhouse Movies. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The guys at Graphic Advertising will bring you a bill, an invoice. But thank you so much, Mr. Ivan Kwashiga, filmmaker extraordinaire. We're very grateful for your insights today. Let's go to the rap doctor.
Thank you.
Before, as a musician, as a rapper, given the situation we're in now, what is the way forward?
I think that the way forward is as content curators or content producers, we must create compelling, differentiated content. Not all of us should rap. Not all of us should sing. And even if we are rapping and singing, all of us, we should choose the topics differently. So we can begin to create rap music for kids using mathematics or science or English. Some rap artists, instead of coming into the pop space to come and compete for the stage, can make a lot of money making music for grown-ups. So we need to begin to create differentiated content. Because once our content is differentiated, then the level of competition will be reduced. Then everybody can get your own small thing. So not all of us should just decide to create pop content. Because whichever content that you create, if you target and position it properly, you'll be able to monetize it properly. I think for content, that's what I want to say. And then also at the government level, I think that we need to conduct ourselves with respect and competence, so that the same way the health sector is flying drones, sending blood to remote areas in Ghana here under the leadership of our vice president, once we conduct ourselves properly, we will be able to go to President Bawumia, because I know that he's extremely interested in the digital space.
The president is Mr. Akufo-Addo.
The vice president, I mean. The vice president, Mr. Akufo-Addo, is too busy with the top things. Yes. So I think that we can go to him if we conduct ourselves properly and get them to invest in our phonophile space. Because once we have that type of infrastructure, everything is possible. But it is really, really, really difficult. To keep Trender Square online for a month is 5,000 cedis. And it will get to a point, myself and my partners here, So we need to put ourselves together with love, respect, competence, and professionalism. And then also in the phase of making money from our digital platforms, as a Made in Ghana ambassador, I want to say let us trust what we produce here in Ghana. Because there were times that during the COVID time, that on Lalafio, we used to get about ABK. We used to get about 850,000 people trying to get on. But immediately it gets to the point where they must put in their money, their Momo, or, then they stop. Exactly. So we do not trust that we Ghanaians can create something, be honest about it, and give full competence. So let us trust things that we make here. Because once we trust the fashion, once we trust to watch his content, once we trust the banks, once we trust our hotels, our monies will stay here. One last thing before I go is that the government should also tax Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Talk, Likey. The government should tax them and use some of a percentage of those taxes to set us up so that we can compete effectively.
You want to create international...
No. We won't create anything.
There are examples of that.
Exactly. In 2019, I know that Microsoft put $100 million in creating incubations and infrastructure in Nigeria. It is because they asked for it. So we must put ourselves together in position to be able to ask for such things. Otherwise, it's all right. We have equally competent young people. Let us produce and eat our cuckoo and not send it to Switzerland anymore in the IT space.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ochame Kwame. And should we download your app?
Yes. Download Trender Square. We will launch it in 2 months. Download Trender Square and go to www.lalafeel.com and go and watch some of the performances that we had last year. We are still populating it with lots of music and music videos. So when you go, 5 CDs a week.
Thank you so much. We'll bring you an invoice.
Trender Square is TRENDASQ Square.
Thank you so much, Ochame Kwame. Ochame Kwame is a music artist, and we're very grateful for. Shall we put our hands together for Ochame Kwame? And Sadiq,
yes,
one of the biggest events that happened in this country in 2019 was the Afro Nation.
Right.
And then there were other events around that time. Last year, most of those events could not come on. What is the way forward when it comes to events? I mean, you were able to hold 3 music this year, but is that sustainable given the situation we are in? What's the way forward for your sector?
Well, it's not sustainable. And obviously, there's a vacuum which still, from all the research and insights that we've gathered, needs to be filled. People are still missing the live experiential elements of events and live events, which they're still looking forward to. And so, if you look at it recently, for when you go to abroad on all the matured market, for instance, tickets are getting sold out for all of that for events of that nature, which means that people are still looking out for it. You would also realize that regardless of what the directive is in the country currently, a lot of people are beating it and still looking for that live experiential effect from the clubs, from the pubs, and all these other places. And so pretty much it's difficult to have to replace that because people are looking for it. And once the market is there, at a point in time, we would definitely would have to come back to that more sustainable point. Virtual is not, as of now, sustainable. We are still finding ways and means around it. But that also brings to mind something that often when we discuss digitization or the creative whatever, that doesn't come to mind, which is the cost of digital transformation. Look, digital transformation is expensive. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a certain level of skill and insight and experiences to be able to curate it successfully. We all need to come to terms with that particular fact. You would understand that we should by now know that the evolution is here. And so you would have to evolve and tap into it. The traditional media platforms have actually been taking the lead. You should understand from where you said that the amount of money or the expense you put into putting together the digital unit of the media general, for instance, is enormous. As much as you may not begin to see the benefit today, in a long time, you'll begin to see it. Today, a number of people may have interacted with Date Rush of seeing it without necessarily having to sit behind the television set. I have watched my entire Date Rush all throughout on my phone. I've engaged, tweeted, had all the conversations and everything on my phone. And so are a lot more people that are to interact with it.
We are grateful to you.
A lot more people that have had them. But that also shows that if you haven't evolved as a media group, if you haven't expended on that money building that MG Digital to expand and take advantage of it and put on all that strategy to be able to take advantage of it and think that commercial, you may not have taken you may not have successfully been able to create this level of effect. And even for those that are operating from a more micro influencer level, like the young ones using TikTok and everything, it took a certain level of consistent effort of churning out content and doing that which is needful, taking advantage of all the challenges that is happening before they were able to build that sense of community which they are trading off to people that have the money to give to them. So we all need to be mindful of that look, it's digital. We all say all the fanciful things on, oh, you should go digital and everything. Guys, it's not easy. It's expensive. Just psych yourself to know it's expensive. It's costly. It requires a lot more effort than usual. Deborah has been spending for God knows how long on American TV, and I'm not sure he's actually made that whole money back. Same as Zion Felix. But we all should begin to think like Ivan said, begin to think commercial. Put it at the heart of your strategy. We all have understood we've evolved. The consumption have changed. Technology is influencing a lot of it. Now, would you rather die or retire, like Ivan was also indicating to those people that couldn't leverage the video that came? Begin think about it strategically. Be commercial about it. Be deliberate about it. Put in the necessary effort. Gather all the relevant insight and experiences that you can to ensure that you win. You have to win or you're going to die. It's expensive, but know that as much as it's not an easy way to go, let's begin to take advantage. It may not be paying off now, but eventually some of these strategies may pay off.
Thank you so much, Sadiq. And I think that kind of sums up everything that we've had discussed here today. And let's put our hands together for all the panel members and also for ourselves for making the time to be here and all watching, on the various platforms that have. In fact, this particular forum is a very heavily digitized forum because most of the people who have interacted with us have been on the digital platform, Facebook, on Instagram, and all that. And we're very grateful for your time and grateful for all our panelists for the insights that you have shared. And we're very thankful to the management of Graphic Communications Group Limited and Graphic Showbiz for putting this together in partnership with TV3. And we are assured by the leadership of the newspaper that this will not be the end. As we said, this is the second after the last one that was held last year before the elections. And other subjects, either on digitization or just any way to help build our creative arts sector, will be brought up for discussion. And not just to discuss, but also look at ways in which to implement some of the things that come up here. So until we meet again at another Graphic Showbiz Forum, this has been me, Francis Doku, hosting this, along with all the people who came here. We're very grateful and thankful to you. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Time and anywhere. Graphic Communication is giving you the opportunity to have news not only in hard copy but also in a digital form. Yes, you can have access to news at all times and even before they reach the newsstands. Simply download the Graphic News Plus from Google Play Store on your Android and App Store on your iOS device and get your digital news from your favorite daily graphic, Graphic Business, The Mirror, Graphic Showbiz, Junior Graphic, and Graphic Sports. Download your Graphic News Plus now and choose your preferred package daily, weekly, monthly, and annually, and access free news on various interest areas as well. Visit us on graphic.com.gh for further information. Graphic News Plus, connecting people through news.